Hey everyone. So, with this being the week of Garfiosa of sorts, or it's me being full of lasagna and Baja Blast, I thought I would get into who the more family friendly half of the coin before involving like the deadpan and portly cats before I do something related to the post-apocalyptic epic. So with the new anime Garfield reboot, I thought I would do like a double feature of the previous live action attempts of the franchise from the mid 2000s, and which I remember watching at the time. And even though I didn't feel as down on them as other people did, I will admit they're very strange beasts of movies. So let's begin. So, the first film saw release in summer 2004, directed by Peter Hewitt, a name I'm not overly familiar with. However, a name I and others are is, of course, Bill Murray in the title role, and apparently, a fun fact for both these movies is that apparently he was cast because he said yes to the wrong Ethan Cohen, which is something he's often poked fun at, both on and off screen in other movies as well. And to be fair, it's not too much of a leap given how, in another connection, Lorenzo Music voiced Garfield on the cartoon, as well as being the initial voice of Peter in the real Ghostbusters. And even with the CG really showing its age, it may not be the worst CGI I've ever seen in that time frame, since I saw quite a few of those DTV sci-fi originals movies, but it certainly is no Gollum or Yoda as CG from that time frame goes. I'll admit that. At the very least, it does resemble all the character or as best it could of that time and budget. And with that in mind, both the voice and live action casts have actually some pretty solid weight behind them, where you have several characters from the comic and also ones unique to who the show unique to this movie as well. Where you have Deborah Messing as his lover Arlene. We have David Eigenberg as Normal, who rather than being a kitten and and is actually just like a kind of a dimwit who is voiced by Steve from And Just Like That. And also includes Brad Garrett as Luca, dog across the street, and of course Nick Cannon as Lewis, a wild and out mouse who is his lead on the streets, as it were. I mean, his owner John, on a working cartoonist, is played by Breckenmeyer, and the veterinarian and Liz is played by the very lovely Jennifer Love Hewitt. As it turns out, the antagonist of the film is Happy Chapman, and the TV host who is played by Steve Tobolowsky, another Bill connection, Ned Ryerson, and of Groundhog Day. So I guess this movie is in the timeline where he didn't buy the insurance packages from him. Much like the comics were it's based on its very deadpan and and its humor for the most part regarding Garfield, but everything else there are indeed shenanigans, and I'm thinking maybe they were on the fence hence about GOPG, but I guess they added some slapsticky scenes, the shot collar on Odie. He and also Chapman saying the D word is taking some antihistamines to push it over the line. And I definitely and admittedly there are some scenes that actually do actually get kind of over the top. I mean, for example, real life anthrax are thankfully not like a transit only bigger because when he's trying to prevent and Chapman from absconding with Odie and going to good New York, or it could mean he's fiddling around with the controls. Goals mean it's so over the top. I had to expect to see like the Vagos on top of a brown streak again. I mean, if pardon another 2004 reference there. I mean, and between Boston, Seattle, well, it's out there, and also get some help from his from Chapman's former partner, Persnickety, or rather Sir Roland, and voiced by actor of stage and screen Alan Cumming. And so it's definitely not going to be any any particularly groundbreaking, but as a family film for that time frame, I personally have seen far worse. And there's sometimes ways to kill it an hour and 20 minutes. That's mean. Even I remember liking it at the time, and even just rewatching it again, first time I'll talk about this, I still feel a little chuckle at least every minute or two. So it passed my personal whole void conf test. I mean, evoking most reaction of him following the lasagna truck and eating the delicious contents, as well as some shenanigans in the air vents. I mean, I would probably could not just push like one key on a keyboard just to blow them out of the vents. Hence, and I at the channel do not. I admit it does not work that way. The channel does, however, find it pretty funny though. Despite being critically panned, and the movie did perform reasonable financially, grossing $75 million domestically and $203 million worldwide on a $50 million budget, making a reasonably modest hit. It's mean opening at number 4 in the midst of a different landscape, having to contend with Harry Potter and Prisoner of Azkaban, and Shrek 2 and the Chronicles of Rector opening weekend, and on June 11th, 2004. So there's that. Though it end up making more than the Headache in the long term, and beat out the Steppenwolf Wise remake, so I guess that counts for something. And that something would also be a sequel to follow 2 years later. So in the summer of 2006, a sequel saw released called Garfield: Tale of Two Kitties, which is something of an unofficial adaptation of the Prince and the Pauper story, where as John and Liz began dating at the end of the first movie, element was actually brought back in the comics, and something I actually approve of. And while how John tends to pop the question to Liz is this plan is upended when Liz ends up going to the conservancy, a royal conservancy, after Jane Goodall had to leave to take care of the chimps, which, to be fair, would actually make sense for Jane. Naturally, attempts to leave Garfield and Odie at the kennel end up being upended when they stow away in John's luggage and end up like someone who saw Love Actually way too many times, following Liz to England. Huh. And here I am, making sure that nothing suspicious my switch case before my own flight. This time, I'm SpongeBob Homaloom. Tim Hill is in the director's chair. So it even goes even further, and then the live action cartoon aspects, and some of the expressions that Garfield and his doppelganger Prince and voiced by Tim Curry make would actually not be out of place in the comic either. And the plot, once they get across the pond, so to speak, it has Prince being left of the entire Carlisle estate by their late master, which does not sit well with the Lord Dargis, played by Billy Connolly, who intends to have the whole place razed and turned into hunting grounds. Hounds being the only animal he really cares for is his hunting dog named Rommel. Yes, really. That's not a red flag at all, is it? So, there's that. And with that in mind, and also both the live action and voice casts have actually a lot of good people behind them. We have everyone from other voice casts, including Bob Hoskins, Rhys Ifans, Vinnie Jones, Richard E. Grant, and even Sharon Osbourne, who doesn't get quite as randy as she does and on that reality show, but definitely I'd say comes close. I mean, especially in the scene when they're making some lasagna and getting deep into cooking sherry by own admission. And the live action cast also includes the late Ian Abercrombie, Roger Reeves, and even a couple and other ones, which include Ben Falcone before he married Melissa McCarthy, and Lucy Davis, who was Dawn in the original UK version of The Office. I mean, which I like for different reasons than the US version. I mean, and even though I didn't like this one as much, I still admit I've seen far worse ways to kill an hour and 20 minutes or so. Oh, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this guy will later go on to make those terrible Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, for example. I mean, I just hope the reboot of those isn't as vulgar as the other ones were. I mean, and there's lots of typical British sites like Big Ben, the Abbey, and of course, the British Palace Guards maintaining composure, at least until Odie marks his territory on one of them. And also John being a little bit confused about driving on the left side of the road. I would mean, don't worry, happens to the best of us. Us, Maine. And of course, that's only the London landmarks I see off the top of my head. I mean, and another bit of film connection. It turns out, unless I'm mistaken, the Carlisle estate, the set they're using, at least for the exterior shots, and even some interior shots, is one I've seen in other movies. The most notable one I could think of right now is like Wayne Manor in the Burton vs. Batman movies. I mean, there's some of the scenes where Dargis getting slapsticked inside the gallery. He is actually, and also where Garfield actually knocks over some statues, is in the same place where they shot Bruce's armory as well. So, yeah. And of course, it's a classic ending where Dargis is sent packing, and the prince reclaims his throne, so to speak, and of course, Garfield does come around the idea of John and Liz getting married. I mean, and there's even some party in the credits as well. So it's definitely not a great film by any means, But I would say that at the time, I had some fun with it, and even looking back, it's actually pretty okay. That said, it was still critically drubbed, and this time ended up being something of a domestic flop, only being making only $28 million, $60 million budget, only being saved by earnings at home and making $143 million worldwide. I'd I'd opened and actually outside top five. When it came out in June 2006. Next, behind the first Cars, the Lake House, the Breakup, and X-Men: The Last Standing of You. I mean, I suppose when you're getting beaten by Nacho Libre and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, it might be time to pack it in. And at least on the big screen, they did it for 18 years with only a few scattered DTV films and television adaptations and happening since then. And then through some shuffling of rights, whereas Nickelodeon and Paramount got the TV rights and they're about to reboot the cartoon. Sony got the animation, the film rights, and they're coming out with an animated reboot. Which, while I'm not going to be expecting that to be on the same level as Spider Verse or the next Inside Out or The Boy and the Heron, does look like it'll have plenty of humor and heart to it as well. I mean, and as you can tell, some things I've been posting, my defense of humor have taken up. The Cat and I have some kindred spirits. I mean, we even have the same preference in Goldfish. I mean, the flavor blasted kind. Just replace like the sports panel discussion with some Toonami, and you basically have a typical Saturday for me. Hey, I mean, just so you know that I'm not just getting. I just thought I'd make this video just so you know I'm not just playing Hampan Dragoon and watching My Hero Academia, which is also true. And I definitely will see you all tomorrow with my unboxing of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on Switch and my impressions this weekend before I take off to Kauai. So that'll be all for now. Take care, everyone.